So we're a month out, less than a month out from the election. And I think it's time to be really clear about the dynamics of what's happening. The race is essentially 50-50. On the one hand, just to put this into some perspective, we have a man who had previously been our president, Trump, who attempted in front of everyone in public to have an insurrection. We had this happen in front of our eyes, and the entire Republican Party blanched and condemned him. Mitch McConnell, Kevin McCarthy, right down the line. Trump is best understood as sort of like a snake creature, He's a sort of Satan figure. And he operates in this sort of slippery, underground way. He's like an energy, and he possesses people. And so even though in front of our eyes he created an insurrection and tried very intensely to stop the peaceful transfer of power for the first time in the entire history of our country, and even though roundly Republicans rejected him and condemned him and said he was unfit for office and condemned him harshly. I mean, if you listen to Mitch McConnell's statement, it's nothing short of a total evisceration of Trump. Nonetheless, nearly all of these people, Republican people who condemned Trump, have now rallied around him yet again. And remember, these are the same people who, when Trump was running the first time, condemned him then for being a philanderer, for being grotesque, for being misogynist, for being xenophobic, for being cruel, for being unfit. And so you see this pattern where the Republicans, when they think they have a chance to lose him and retain their own power, will come out to condemn him. But as soon as their own power is threatened, they rejoin his cause. I mean, this is what I'm trying to explain, is the serpent. You could call it a Satan energy. The idea of Satan is that he rules through fear, coercion, and power, or by drawing one's desire for power toward his own aims. And so you can see this sort of satanic demon snake energy that has been percolating deep in the bosom of the Republican Party for a long time, revealing itself in Trump in his first presidency and manifesting itself completely in the insurrection, and manifesting itself again and again since then, as Trump has publicly claimed, for instance, to suspend the Constitution and be a dictator on day one, and as he uses words like vermin and scum to describe his political adversaries, the same language that Hitler used. And even today he used the word. He talked about immigrants bringing poisonous genes, not like corduroys, but like, genetics, genes, into our country, which again is the same language that Hitler used. And yet the race is 50-50. So how do you understand this? One way to understand it is to think about really the sort of Satan appeal of Trump. And it's an appeal that goes directly toward the sort of reptilian brain, the part of the reptilian brain that is totally focused on power. And and sort of kind of ruthless survival. And so, for instance, think about this. Who are the main rejoiners? Who are the main sycophants to Trump's cause? Well, you have, of course, Elon Musk, the most powerful man, one could argue, in many ways, in the world. A man who, I believe, if I'm not incorrect, has 9 or 10 offspring, kids, by 9 or 10 different women, who doesn't not even believe in that he should speak or spend time with his kids. A man who has, I mean, think about this, the most powerful man, one of the most powerful men in the world, spends a considerable of his time, this is Elon Musk, trashing one of his kids because they're trans, because they're transgender. I mean, think about the type of human being that Elon Musk is. A man who is completely consumed in power. He's openly said that he wants to have as many kids with as many women as possible to make basically more Elon Musks. I mean, he's a complete creature of ego and power. He's the antithesis, the opposite of the traditional conservative notion of a family man. This is the type of person who flocks to Trump and jumps up and down at his rallies. Why? Because the same demonic Satan energy appeals to him. It's the energy of power. It's that reptilian energy of ego. And I mean, think of the others. Think of the Ben Shapiros and the Jordan Petersons. And I'm not going to quite put Joe Rogan into this category because I think Joe Rogan on some level is too decent and too normal of a person. I think he has the capacity to resist sort of the type of demon energy that Peterson cannot resist. Because Peterson, if you look at him and watch him and observe the way he talks, and if you pay attention to the amount of money he spends on his suits, and you just observe the anger that possesses his speech and his mind, or you do the same with Elon Musk, or any number of these people like Tucker Carlson, or even RFK Jr., men, white, powerful, rich, angry, resentful, because of all the power that they've been given. They just fucking want more power. And that is Trump. And that type of appeal does not just translate to other multimillionaires like Peterson or like Musk. It translates down deep into the vascular system of the nation, of the body politic. It translates deep down. And this is why men by 20 to 25 points, particularly white men, are so in support of Trump. Particularly bitter men who believe they should have more power than they already have. And this is why women, to such an awesome extent, again, it's about a 25 point, 20 to 25 point difference, women, in terms of their support for Kamala, as opposed to Trump. You know, that you have this gender divide that you've never really seen before in American politics. Because this is a type of sort of demon spirit snake energy that's very masculine. It's very much appealing to this type of masculine resentment that's really caught up in feelings of resentment for power, more power, resentment of having lost some sense of status that they think they should deserve. I mean, this is Trump's language, that the others have taken away, the others, the immigrants, the gays, the trans, have taken away some vestige of that status that once was bestowed upon the white man. It literally kind of splits down these lines, except, men of other backgrounds and ethnicities are also have fallen prey to the same type of hypnosis. So it's staggering to see that 96% of black women are going to vote for Harris, and 40 or 45% of black men are going to vote for Trump, and there's a massive gap there. And the gap can be explained by, I guess what I'm getting at, I'm trying to sort of angle toward here, is that this election comes down to sort of a choice between a feminine principle, and the feminine principle being a principle of care and generosity and some level of vulnerability and a level of emotional intelligence, and the masculine principle. And it's a really debased and silly form of the masculine principle. It doesn't really represent what it should be. But the masculine principle really being one about sort of status, survival, power over others. And that translates into money. And it translates into fear. So you have these two different buckets or baskets of qualities. On the Kamala side, you have a lot of women, tons of women, a lot of men too, mainly more college-educated men, gay men, men of color, who are less seduced by the sort of snake vision of kind of demonic masculinity, So, you think of the types of values that sort of consolidate around Harris. And what are they? They are joy, conviviality, community, intelligence, emotional intelligence, care, compassion, a kind of toughness, a toughness, actually a real toughness. She's a prosecutor, right? So it's a real toughness, but it's a toughness that's based on the principle of protecting the community. I mean, that's what prosecutors and attorney generals do. So you have a kind of a value set, forward-looking, humanistic, seeking consensus. And on the Trump, you have another set of values, strength through power, the value of the absolute value of monetary wealth, masculine sort of hegemony. None of these people, Elon or Jordan Peterson or Trump or Tucker Carlson or RFK Jr., none of them are really very interested in women. They're not people who are really interested in the lives and the dilemmas that women face. So back to the sort of values surrounding Trump: anger, resentment, hostility, cruelty, boastfulness, and a willingness to sort of defiantly break the most traditional norms. In fact, to break the most traditional conservative norms of society. And so, ironically, it's the Harris campaign that's more conservative, which is why you have the likes of Liz Cheney and many other conservatives, old school conservatives with principles, supporting Harris. And it's why you have these sort of like so-called liberals like RFK Jr., who actually are not conservative in any way, supporting Trump. So look, what I'm saying here is we're getting toward an end game, and it's looking like a war, where it's going to be close to a war, because you have a set of competing clusters of principles, and it's very hard for them to be reconciled. It's sort of like a split in the psychic consciousness of at least American, at least of America. But the important thing to understand is that if you're interested in Trump, or you know people who are, ask them about what they really, really, really care about. Ask them what they really, 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 really care about. And if they really care about things like decency and love and community and respect and dialogue and women's autonomy, then you have to talk with them. If they care about national defense, you got to talk with them. If they care about conserving traditional American culture, you got to talk with them. Because Trump's demon, Satan, snake energy cares not about any of those things. It's a purely writhing, antagonistic reaction. It's purely a sort of last-ditch scream for the ascendancy of male dominance, power, and capitalism.